Gauteng schools have lost more than 120 million rand to theft and vandalism. Well, this year alone, there have been several break-ins, and in Sebokeng, 3 schools were torched just this month. The burning question now is, should the government look into private security? I'm joined now by Gary Tidlinger, the Director of Accelerate Security. Gary, thank you so much for your time. I mean, when the MEC of Basic Education, Panyazalisuf, is asked about what is the main cause of the burning of these schools, the theft, and as well as the vandalism that we've been seeing in Gauteng, he says that it's pure thuggery. There are thugs behind this. But how are thugs getting away with such a crime?
So thuggery is certainly something that's a socio-economic problem, and I'd imagine that that's specific to a particular community or a particular school, and the way they get into the school is where the problem for me lies. The school's not able to protect its perimeter. And this can be your first line of defense in anything that you're trying to protect, is to secure your perimeter. And if the schools are just open and anybody can get in at any time, schools then are exceptionally vulnerable.
Yeah, so it's either schools are not protected or the people that are meant to, provide those services to the school are not qualified for it. Because, or they're not qualified. Because he did mention that some of the challenges are that some of these security guards were not vetted, they were unlicensed, but why would government allow that to be, especially where schools' infrastructure and young pupils are concerned?
As a security industry in this country, one of the biggest problems we face is non-compliance within the industry. So it's a massive industry. There's something like 9,500 registered security companies. That's not to say how many unregistered security companies there are. There's some 2.5 million registered security guards, of which I think in the region of about 530,000 are active. That doesn't go to how many inactive or unregistered security guards there are. So recent stats that I read from CIRA, which is the Security Industry Regulatory Authority, show that when they do their investigations, there's hundreds and hundreds of security companies that are employing unregistered and untrained security guards. And these are the guys that are winning tenders. So how do they win the tenders? That's the process when you should be able to vet the security company, make sure all the steps are in process.
Right.
And the Security Association of South Africa, SASA, is a organisation that works exactly for that, to determine and work towards compliance in the industry.
Well, one would say that there is corruption in the sense that private companies, of course, get these tenders from government to protect these schools, and you find that they're not vetted or they're not compliant, but also there are also issues with, government schools employing, unemployed men or women on the streets, trying to give them employment, but not knowing how to act in situations whereby there's an arson, there's theft, or even vandalism in the school.
Sure. The minute you employ somebody to act in a security capacity, you're regarded as a security employer, and you then have certain legal requirements that you're required to follow. So even a school, if a school chooses to employ somebody and place them in the role of a security person, a security guard, even if they think it's just a casual, they then have certain requirements to follow. And I think it's always, the big issue is understanding the capability of the officer.
Right.
Understanding the level of training. I mean, you're taking somebody off the street, what training has he had? How is he going to respond to anybody, to a group of people? How's he going to respond to somebody who's armed?
Yeah, that's the question, because even when we look at some of these cases where the schools were been burned down, it's community members who made the call to the police. So clearly there was no security on site. But of course, I mean, this is a wake-up call for the Department of Education. 3 schools being burned in the space of 15 days, 1 school being robbed. What action, rather, do you think the government needs to take now?
Everything is in place. All the policies are in place, all the procedures in place, all the legislation is in place. It's about it's about now making it work. It's about taking action. So there's supposed to be school safety committees. There's supposed to be links with SAP. All of the studies have been done. They say that it takes a village to raise a child. Raising a child also means educating and keeping that child safe. So it's not a single person that has a responsibility. The school can't outsource the responsibility to a security guard. A parent can't outsource the responsibility of disciplining their child to the school. The Department of Education can't outsource it to the SAP. It's a collective problem and it needs a collective solution.
Indeed, Gary, thank you so much for your time right here on The Rundown. Gary joining us, talking about the security that's clearly needed in most of the schools in Gauteng, where in a space of 15 days alone, 3 schools in Gauteng were burned down, as well as one which was broken into. And the MEC Panyazalis, we've seen those investigations continue.